All right, welcome back, everybody. This is Brahma Guru talking to you today about 25 financial lessons that I personally have learned that also might benefit you. So I'm going to first start off with 12 costly financial mistakes to avoid. And I'm going to be very open and candid with you. The first one is spending money before you have it. I've repeatedly got burned that way by taking on all sorts of consumer debt and buying vacuum cleaners and this and that and all sorts of stuff really that really is only consumer debt. Not a good idea to spend money before you have it. The second thing is mistake number 2 is using credit cards to defer payment. So obviously one way to obtain that sort of those consumer items and even go on trips and holidays is by using a credit card. And I found that especially if you work for yourself and you don't have a steady income stream, but even if you do have a steady income stream, it's very easy to overspend compared to what you're making. And if you then, let's say, put something on a credit card thinking that, the next paycheck will pay for it because you got 30 days or whatever amount of days to delay, unless you got good money habits, you'll basically take on, again, too much than what you really can chew on. Number 3 is then using high interest personal loans. I remember an event of mine that I did. And because, let's say, we didn't sell as many tickets that initially we wanted, we basically had to pay the event space, not only for the space, it was a convention, plus all the catering for all the people that we anticipated coming, but that weren't always coming. And I had to basically pay for it myself, but I didn't have it. So therefore, I then went on to an organization that cut me a loan very quickly. Yes, the money was in the account very quickly. I could take care of the so-called bill, but you know what? It cut me really deep later on because I was on a payment plan with, 21% interest payable over the course of the next few months. So it was a very costly mistake and a learning lesson that way. The next one is mistake number 4, not having a clear budget, especially if you are somebody who likes to take action and don't really like to do admin stuff or planning and forecasting and all that sort of stuff. You're like me. And let's say I've learned the hard way. So now I know the value of really good budgets, both in my personal life as well as in my business life. And I always will look for more ways to better myself in that area because I don't have necessarily the skills or the abilities to do it just like that. I had to learn it the hard way. Mistake number 5 is not having a safety buffer. And so we all know that certain times, you cannot plan for them, but you can rest assured that sooner or later, something will happen that will need money for it. And if you don't necessarily have that money parked aside in a dedicated account for this purpose, you're basically going to take it away from other areas where it actually might hurt. You might start taking away from your mortgage. It might take away from school fees. It might take away from a trip or whatever else, or let's say the purchase of a vehicle that you actually need to buy. So it's really good practice to have a safety buffer, easily covering you 3 months in terms of all the bills you have. And if you have that sort of buffer in place, some people say 6 months. I know even people that budget for a full year in advance. That's their safety buffer. It's a great idea to have one. Number 6 then is trying to manage money without proper knowledge and experience. And let's just be honest, when we went to school, we didn't learn it there. Unless you went later on to university or a specialized business school that was all about economics and bookkeeping and business forecasting and all that sort of stuff. Most people haven't really learned how to do that. And so in our personal life, as well as in our business life, not having the knowledge or experience really can, set us aside in a big way. Mistake number 7. Working for money instead of letting money work for us. I would be the first to put up my hand that when I basically left my former employment and then started up my own business, I didn't know any better. So I basically recreated my own business, let's say my own job in my own business. And so it's not a great way to do it because that way you keep trading time for money without necessarily having the money to work for you. And if you were to find ways to let money work for you, it basically means that you getting paid whether you do something or not. That is, of course, a really great way to pursue. Mistake number 8 then was just relying on our work to derive income. It's a good idea to create multiple income streams and not just income streams, really better is that they are recurring. So for example, if you have an opportunity like an accountant could to get more and more people onto a specific software that does accounting, like Xero or MYOB or QuickBooks and all these sorts of softwares, well, the accountant gets a kickback for every person or business that is using the accounting software for a lifetime. And so that is, of course, really great to have. Mortgage brokers have this in place. Financial planners have such things in place. There's multiple people that have already created as part of their business model and even the industry, and so could you. Mistake number 9 is not having a financial plan, hoping that things will work out. Now, hope is really not a great recipe for success. Most people create success. It doesn't happen haphazardly. So first of all, create a financial plan. I cannot stress this enough. I've got my plans in place. I hold myself accountable. I have somebody else that checks in with me and guides me with the right advice. In fact, multiple people now. And I've only taken this on very recently because I always thought, oh my God, these financial planners and these and other experts, they all cost money. But guess what? It costs you even more money if you don't have the right people around you. Mistake number 10 is, as a business owner, not paying our own super. I know countless friends of mine and clients, and even myself, who for a very long time always decided to pay everything else. And when some money was left, we would pay us in our super. Well, now, if you now reflect on it, you could say that my super is not as rosy as it would look like from an employee with a really good pay. And so that is where I have started off a little bit later. And many other business owners would be in the same boat. In fact, I only spoke to a business owner recently who admitted that over Christmas, when trade was really hard and there was lots of bills and not enough revenue, he basically went back into his super to use X amount of dollars out of his super for business expenses with the purpose to refund him later on. But of course, sometimes those times don't come, or we forget about it, or we got more bills coming. And again, it's best practice to pay ourselves and pay our super, which I'll come back to later. Mistake number 11 then is buying shares with money that we need for, let's say, our daily habits and expenses. So we sell them ultimately at the wrong time at a loss. And I certainly have been there back in Europe when I was still an employee somewhere else. I had bought some really great shares, and only if I would have held on to them for a longer period of time. I decided to sell them so that I could take care of something in the immediate short term. And that was really a bad mistake. So the last one then here is mistake number 12, losing sleep over financial matters. Here's the thing. Every time when you kind of financially in a pickle, there's always a way that you can figure out what to do next. And the best time to think about it is not before you go to bed or before you go to sleep, because you're not going to sleep at all. So therefore, it's write it down on a paper and you say, I'll get to it tomorrow morning and I'll work out what the root cause is, not just try to, put a Band-Aid on a wound. When you find out the root cause, you can figure out what it is. It might be that you've turned a blind eye to, your finances. It might be that you haven't, filed your taxes for 4 years in a row. Well, guess what? The root cause there is you having avoided your responsibilities rather than anything else. So then rather than keep doing it, you could say, you know what? It stops here. Let me get on top of this. Let me now work on this and address the matter once and for all.